Uno más.
Una más. Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday. It's bright and sunny and nice and cool here today, which is a blessing. I've been looking forward to some cooler weather. These hot and humid days are a bit much for me. So, today we're going to be painting our stars and nutcrackers, and I really love this series. Nutcrackers are awesome. They're so much fun. And these ones I tried to make as cute as possible and change them up enough that they look unique in their own way. So we're going to have some fun painting this little guy. He's all done in shades of blue and complementary yellows. And I really think you're going to have fun with this one because I really enjoyed designing him and then painting him. So much so that I've painted him 3 times already. And I've changed up a few things, changed the style of the stars, changed up, a few little things just to make it fun. So we're going to be painting him. But before we get to that, we're going to talk about 2 things. One, I have to send out some thank yous today. I got a lovely package this week from Filomena Figueredo. I know I probably didn't say that right, Filomena, and I'll apologize now. But she sent me this beautiful hand-painted shopping bag today with a lemon. She knows I love lemons. So she did this for me. I absolutely love it. It's so sweet of you to send this. It's just gorgeous and very much me with the very quaint old signage and the lettering, and it's done in French, which just tickles my heart. So thank you so much. I just absolutely love it. And I also have to say thank you to Linnell Watchhorn. Watchhorn. I know I'm going to say that wrong, sweetheart, but Linnell has been a member of my group, I think, since the very beginning. And last year, she took on the mantle of organizing an ornament exchange for my group. And she's doing it again this year. So I have to say thank you to her for organizing everything and then keeping everything on track and doing such a fantastic job. I have an absolutely amazing Christmas tree for my dining room now because of the effort and that she has put in and the effort of all of those who contributed to the ornament exchange. So if you are part of my membership, get in touch with Linnell and join in on this ornament exchange. It's loads of fun, and you're going to end up with some beautiful hand-painted things. So Linnell, thank you so much, sweetheart, for all of the work that you do with that. It is greatly appreciated, and I absolutely love my ornaments. What are you doing? Maze.
Maze is being maze.
Maze is being maze. Look at Renee's t-shirt. He's got a zombie bunny t-shirt.
Zombie bunny.
Yeah, we got the zombie bunny buttons, and I have zombie bunny stickers coming soon, and a few other fun things. If you didn't see it this week, up on the website under the free downloads, we have a new RAK design for you, so you can go and download the pattern for the little tall pumpkin pins. They're on the in the free download section on my website, so you can go and check that out. I know a whole bunch of you have already downloaded it, and thank you very much. And I hope that you participate with the Random Acts of Kindness AYL page. Go and check that out. There's some fabulous people doing some amazing things on that page. So, and it's so fun. You can sit for hours and paint all these little things. We also have some fantastic giveaways today. We have some fabulous kits, surfaces, pattern, some stencils. There's brushes. There's a whole bunch of things in there. It's a rather substantial package. We have 3 of those to give away today. And it involves a whole bunch of different suppliers, myself, Sheila Landry, Deb Antonik, Sandy McTeer, and myself for M Square stencils, brushes from Dynasty Brush, and some goodies from Tombow. There's loads of stuff in these ones. So there's 3 of them to give away this week. So all you have to do to get your name on the wheel is join us in the chat, say hello, ask a question, just contribute to the community as a whole. Hit all of the buttons. The likes, the shares, and the follows, and all of it is greatly appreciated, believe me. So, I do have to say hello to a few people. There's Teresa Cleaver. Hello, Teresa. And Corinna Kinsman-Raffus. Hello, sweetheart. How are things in Nova Scotia? Hopefully it's cooled off a little bit down there. And Deb Pels and Lillian. Hello, Lillian. And oh my goodness, there's a whole bunch of people in here today. Virginia Hedges, Sue Braun, hello. You did the gingers on one side and the zombie ginger on the other. Thank you so much. Girl after my own heart. And Carrie Siebold, hello, Carrie. And Deanna and Karen Jones, hello, sweetie. And then Cheryl Overgard, hi, from Iowa. Christine Nix Hall from South Carolina. Hopefully the weather settled down in South Carolina. Good heavens. With Erin off the coast, she's playing hell down there. And Charmaine Bannister. Hello, Charmaine. Hi, Faye. Yes, absolutely, sweetheart. You can call me anytime. And Kelly Albright. Hello, dear. My goodness, everybody's here. And Ann Fogg. Hello, my dear. A zombie bunny t-shirt. Okay. Sounds back. Okay. Are you sure? Good now. Okay. There we are. Of Kindness AYL page. Very hello, Teresa. And okay. It appears the sound is back.
Okay, yeah, there was a...
Just a drop in something?
Yeah, that must have been a connection issue.
Okay. Whew. Whew. Good.
Don't know what to tell you. It's nothing I could have fixed.
Zombie bunny. They're saying they need t-shirts.
Told you.
Yeah.
Zombie bunny.
That's all we need is a bunch of 60-year-old ladies running around in zombie bunny t-shirts.
I'm all for it.
Yep. Yep. Tattoos, Yeah.
Everybody should have
That's
at least
what I
one.
need. Renee is a genius. Oh, we can already barely get him through the door without buttering his ears. Don't push it. The bunny did it.
The bunny did it. Gotta have a voodoo zombie bunny.
Yes.
Or voodoo bunny. Or
A voodoo bunny. Well, I'm working on a new voodoo doll.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, I know which one. Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Oh, see?
If you haven't guessed, I like macabre.
Yeah, well, we both do.
Yeah.
Alrighty, now that we've got sound back and you've all had a good look at his t-shirt, let's paint a nutcracker. Okay.
I got a dog to deal with.
You do. Okay, have a good one. Well, it was the bunny that did it. It must have been. All right, so if you guys are ready to paint a nutcracker, this the stars and nutcrackers, so am I. Oh, my son is crazy. So this is the little guy we're painting today. It's such a cutie pie. Yes, he is. Unfortunately, he knows it. It was the bunny. So this is the little guy that we're painting today. I just love this one. I think it's the color combination in this one that does it for me. I love complementary colors. And so this blue and the yellow and, all of this gold going on. It's just a fun piece to paint. And it's really not a difficult one, as you can tell, because we've already done the other two. And they look so cute together. I really love them all together. So this is the little guy we're going to paint, and we're going to start with the background for this one. I've got my line drawing here. So I already traced my, he takes after his mom. So I've already got my line drawing traced on. It makes things a little bit simpler for me. And I'm going to grab a stencil brush, and I'm going to use a little bit of warm white. One color I've been using a lot lately is sand gray. I love sand gray. We're going to use warm white, and we're going to do the same type of background that we did for these two. And they do look so cute together. Look at this. I love them together. Such a fun series to do. This is what happens when I get into one of these things where everything's got to go together. Just kind of creepy at times. So the background color is deep midnight blue. I love this color. It is a nice base for a whole bunch of things. And because it's a blue, it works with reds, it works with yellows. It has a really great versatility, and that slightly gray undertone it makes it a very good color for working on top of for a variety of subjects. So I am going to use this. This is my favorite snowflake stencil. The reason is I really love this lacy little one here and these itty bitty ones. So we're going to use these to develop our background. Complementary colors are opposite of each other on the color wheel. That is quite true. I get a little carried away sometimes, though, with the everything's got to go together thing. I'm currently working on 2 other series. I have a couple of other Christmas pieces I'm putting together, but I'm also working on a new piece. One of them we're going to be doing next weekend. It's almost finished. And I'll have that up early in the week. So we're going to just put a smattering of snowflakes. They don't have to be perfect. And they don't have to be fully opaque. And by now you guys know that I much prefer things that are not perfect. I like the imperfections. It makes things interesting. So I'm just smattering a few snowflakes around. They can go wherever. And as I said, they don't have to be absolutely perfect. See, I like them. We're going to sand them anyway, so Oh, they're cute as ornaments. Yes, Carrie. Girl after my own heart. Make them into ornaments. Why not? I like things that are imperfect. There was an old saying that only God can accomplish perfection. And so even the Hutterites and the Mennonites, when they're creating some of their beautiful quilts, they intentionally put in some imperfections, that it makes them humble before God, which I think the idea of intentionally putting an imperfection in is touching. So I'm just scattering a few little snowflakes around. I don't want tons of them on here because we're going to be putting in a bunch of things. So just a smattering. And they don't have to be perfect. I like the little ones. This one, I think, if it has too many big ones in the background, it just gets very, very busy. And it kind of overwhelms the design a little. So I kind of preferred to just put a few in. Nothing over the top. So I'm going to dry that. Let's see who's going on. Carol Colbert, good morning. Vicky, the background is deep midnight blue. I'm a big fan. I love this blue. I have recently fallen back into love with a few older colors. Cindy, I'm glad you like Nutcrackers. I think for a lot of people, the traditional Nutcracker looks a little bit serious and a little, even a little scary. I did not want them to have that look. I wanted them to be cuter, fun. So I'm glad you like them. Northeast Pennsylvania, Dorothy. Dorothy. And Patty Johns, hello. I bet it's warm in Phoenix today. It's always warm in Phoenix. Okay, so we've got our snowflakes in our background. We're going to take a sander. I'm using one of my fine ones. We're just going to soften these snowflakes a little. So I'm just going to lightly sand them. They're not going to be fully opaque anyway, which is fine. But sanding them softens them a little. And now it looks messy, but it's okay. Oh my goodness. I think entirely too warm, I have no doubt. I think YouTube is having an issue today, or Facebook is. We were having trouble with getting the chat connected this morning. So I just wipe off a little of the dust that seems to be collecting when you sand. And then I'm going to float around the outside edge and into the corners with a little bit of Prussian blue. I love Prussian blue. I love colors. It's hard for me to say there's a color I actively dislike. There's colors that I'm not fond of, but I can't say I actively dislike any of them. There's Cindy. So we're going to go around the outside edge with a nice float of Prussian blue. And if it overlaps the snowflakes, that's okay. It is not a meticulous, perfect float. It does not have to be even. I like to work into the corners a little bit so that I get a darker shading in the corners. Swedish horse stencil? I don't know what that is. Hard to answer. I don't know what that is. Oh, Ooh, 108 degrees. That's brutal. That's just brutal. I'm sorry. Ugh. It's going to be 26 here today, Celsius, which puts it at about, I don't know, high 70s, which is plenty as far as I'm concerned. I'm not a big fan of the hot. I like the cool. I'm looking forward to fall. There we are. Okay, so we've got nice float. Again, it's just to put a darker edge on this, nothing over the top. Just going to, although it probably won't show up too much right now, it will in a little bit. So I'm going to make sure this is good and dry. That's good news about Devon, Karen. Glad to hear it. There we are. So our next step is we're going to tone all of this now with a little bit of asphaltum. So a little bit of asphaltum, which you know is one of my favorite colors. So I'm going to heavily thin some asphaltum, and then we're going to tone our Prussian blue with a float of heavily thinned asphaltum. All that does is just tone and age that darker value around the outside edge. And then when it's completely dry, we're going to put a wash of this color over everything, just to unify that background. It just brings everything back together. Okay. Good Lord. 80 degrees Fahrenheit in Michigan? Yuck. '80's too warm. I don't like 80. 80's a bit too warm. So I'm going to dry that. So now you can see that nice little edge. It's not harsh. It's not like a stripe around the outside edge, but it does age the edges a little bit. So I'm then going to take a little of that asphaltum, heavily thinned. We're going to add lots of glaze or water to it. And we're going to go over the entire surface with a thin coat. And all this is going to do is tone the background. So we're not drastically changing the color of the background, but it tones it. So now then when we go in and we put all of these other colors in, it's going to give it a nice contrast. So there we are. It makes this dark blue a little bit darker. There we go. So I've done the fall pin this week. Just a little sunflower pin. I just think this one's cute. You know, little white. It's very trendy with the light colored pumpkin instead of traditional orange. And some polka dots because I love polka dots. And sunflowers because I love sunflowers. There we are. And so if you haven't seen it, you can get this. It's a free download on my website for this little pin. If you're into doing those RAKs, go and download it. Paint as many as you like. These ones have the black on the background. Super cute. Such fun. And I've got a Christmas one coming too. So there'll be a new little Christmas one. I'm always looking for something fun to do with those RAKs, and that's a great one. So we are ready to start working on our little guy here. I'm going to start with his uniform. Now, the color that I used as the base for this uniform is this. It's Williamsburg blue. Just recently come back to using this color. It's one of those older colors, but I really love this tone. If you don't have the Williamsburg blue, you can use uniform blue. That's another one that's very nice. And the tone works really well. It's slightly grayed out blue. So, Williamsburg blue. I like this bluey undertone. I'm going to find a round brush. One of the other colors that I chose for this is, and you're going to find it funny because it doesn't look like it should work, but it does, is Stormy. That's one of the new colors that they put out last year. It's an odd looking blue. I say odd because it doesn't seem to work with too many things. Like, it's an odd tone. But the one thing I found is that depending on how you use it, it works exceptionally well for a whole bunch of things. And one of the things that I really loved was how cool it looks with this. It's slightly purplish in tone, and it has a really nice undertone to it. So it works very well. It shouldn't, but it does. And so it makes a nice contrast, a soft contrast to this Williamsburg blue. And Williamsburg is just, I love the gray value in this. I think that's the thing about it that appeals, for me anyway, is that vintage look, slightly grayed out. It's a little subdued, but it's also very interesting. It's an interesting color. Love it. The other nice thing is that it is very opaque, covers really nicely. So it makes base coating a lot faster. Very pretty. Break out the scroll saw, Sherry. The nice thing about this particular design, I put it on a tag, but quite honestly, it can go on almost anything. I like tags. I find they're a pretty versatile surface. And because you can design on something that's tall and skinny, you can put it on almost anything. So it would enlarge it, put it on placemats. I think would be so pretty. You could take all three line drawings and arrange them on one surface, which would be nice. You could do it larger, you could do it smaller. It's a very simple one to adjust for almost anything. And that I like. I'm not often, I shouldn't say that because I do like original design surfaces, but things like this, I like to be able to take them from one surface to another. Versatility is important. And I think because this is on such a basic surface that it isn't reliant on that surface. I was thinking I would enlarge these and put them on a big canvas for the holidays. I think they would be so cute. And they would be cute on a floor cloth. That's my latest obsession. I was playing with some blackout material the other day. Do you think for the life of me I can remember the name of that stuff? And the blackout material is awesome. So you're going to put one coat of Williamsburg blue or uniform blue. Uniform blue I think is just a little bit lighter, But even like a French blue gray would work. Quite honestly, you just need something in the tonal value, I think, more so than the actual color. What am I missing? I thought I saw a question here. Oh, a door leaner would be so cute. Enlarge it and put it on a door leaner? Oh, yes. Would be adorable. You don't necessarily have to use the embellishments either. You could always, use a stencil to put 3 snowflakes on, or a star, and then the little gingerbread. They could be just drawn on. What? Oh, Patrick, it's essentially a large board with either welcome or hello, some sort of greeting that leans against the edge of the wall or into a corner. They're quite popular here. I have one that's just done in black and white and it says welcome. That's what's on my front entry in the breezeway. I like them. But I always have something at my front door that welcomes people, so. I absolutely love these little pins. I got a bunch of gingerbread cookies in pin-sized. I got a bunch of the itty-bitty ones for this fellow here. And, we always have snowflakes, but I got a bunch of different things in. We got mittens and we got light bulbs. We got a whole bunch of like mini surfaces for pins in, so. Okay, so I'm going to dry this. And then we're going to, I'm going to show you the stripes. I kept trying to think of something unique for these uniforms to make them each different, but not so dramatic. The first one, I just did diagonal stripes, so it looks like candy canes. In the second one, I put a simple harlequin in. And on this one, I decided, wouldn't it be cute if we just did this? So I just made a series of stripes horizontally with a slight curve along the sleeve, like so. And I just repeated that on the pant legs as well. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be exactly the same size. Just, guesstimate. That's all you need to do. And then we're going to paint every other one with Stormy, which is a really unusual color. They call it Stormy, and it's odd because it looks much brighter under the lights. But this one is a deep blue, and it has a kind of purple undertone, kind of, sort of, but I really liked it for this. It was such a fun piece. Now, somebody asked about the pencil I'm using. This one is a Bohin of France. This is Bohin. This is a chalk pencil. It's actually a dressmaker's chalk pencil. Cindy, am I going to drive you crazy with that? Yes, I know. I have 6 on one and 7 on the other. So the nice thing about this chalk pencil, ta-da! I can erase it. We're going to push poor Cindy right over the edge. See, my husband and his, what we affectionately refer to as CDO. My husband has CDO. That's OCD, but in alphabetical order, as it should be. He would have picked up on that, and it would have driven him crazy until I fixed it. So I'm going to grab my favorite rigger. And we're going to use Stormy, which is that unusual blue, to paint in those stripes. Rocklon. That's what it's called, Rocklon. I had one of those. It's kind of like that that black marker that I use for fabric. Oh my gosh, I can never remember the name of that bloody pen. Just like I have trouble with that Rocklon. I don't know why. I have no idea why. I've had a bolt of it in my studio forever and a day, and I break it out every once in a while whenever I feel the urge to paint fabric. That's usually what I get out. My membership group is painting a floor cloth this month. Identapen. Thank you, Denise. I can never remember the name of that blasted thing. Purple and gold. What can I do because of the yellow trim? Well, the purple and gold, you could do 2 shades of purple on the Nutcracker and then just leave the yellow and gold, because this is meant to look like gold. You can do it as the yellow. Use the yellow as the trim. That will give you your gold. And for the Saints, LSU Saints, that's the, Louisiana. So it's the purple and gold. That's what I would do. I would use, 2 shades of purple for the uniform, and then just leave the yellow as part of the gold. There we are. So the stripes get painted 1 coat, because it covers pretty well. 1 coat of Stormy. It's a nifty blue. And we're going to do the same thing to the pant legs. I have several projects on the go right now. I'm also working on some colored pencil pieces. So the I took out the Rocklon. I have a bolt of it, and got our piece ready for our class next week. And then at the same time, I cut a couple of flags, garden flags. And I have a couple of designs for those coming up. So I get so many requests for various surfaces. I don't often paint on fabric, but it depends on what I'm doing. And I'm kind of obsessed with the floor cloth thing. Do I have the floor cloth? I do. It's right here. So my membership group has been doing illumination. That has been the subject of our live class for this year. So the floor cloth we're doing is called a Merry Christmas Floor Cloth. And it's all about the illumination of the lettering. So this is a small floor cloth, a little scatter mat type thing. And this is what we're doing. So there's lots of metallic gold in this, lots of red, pardon me. So yes, this is what it looks like. It has a gold and a black border. It is not a difficult one to do. It is time consuming. But I think it's quite a nice one. So it is a big project though, because it's because of the size. So it is little bit different. I love the lettering. I love doing lettering on things like this. The illumination is very pretty. It took a little bit to get it the way I wanted it, but yes, I love, 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 love doing that type of thing. What do I keep it on the back? The trick to a floor cloth is this. Whatever you do to the front, you have to do to the back. I have not finished this. It hasn't been varnished yet. So that's one of the reasons, and the fact that it's been rolled up. But whenever you're working on a floor cloth, whatever you do to the front has to be done to the back. This one will also get hemmed. That black border will be folded over and glued down. And then once that's done, the back will get 2 coats of varnish and then a coat of wax. And then the front will get 2 coats of varnish and a coat of wax. And then once they're hemmed that way and then varnished on both sides, they tend to stay flat. What color can I use instead of Stormy? Well, quite honestly, any darker blue, not too dark. I also tried it with this, with Twilight. It worked just fine. And if you don't have those, let me see here. A really good color for it would be, let me see here, True Blue. True Blue will work just fine. What kind of wax? I use a beeswax. It's a finishing wax. You can also paint this, if you don't have the Rocklon, you can also paint this with on the back of a piece of vinyl flooring. So there's all sorts of options for this. Yes, I like to use gesso before I start painting, especially, well, Rocklon doesn't really need it, but if you're using canvas, yes, 2 to 3 coats. Nice thin coats of gesso on top of the canvas. Even on, if you're going to prep the vinyl, you're using the back side of the vinyl where it has the fabric. So yeah, you can put gesso or something on that. Okay. Oof. So I'm going to make sure that this is good and dry. They're all having fun with the vinyl flooring idea now. I love this little guy. So the first thing we're going to do with all of this is we're going to start shading our uniform. And we're going to do that with Prussian blue. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of Prussian blue. And we're going to shade the uniform like so, down both sides. The outside edge of his uniform like this. And then I'm going to dry that. Illumination is such an old art form, and it's just gorgeous. Everything has to be quick and easy now. So it's a little frustrating at times to see such a beautiful art go unappreciated. But I feel the same way about the written word. I mean, we've become so used to not writing anything. We text everything or type everything that I just love love anything to do with script. So I've got my shading on the inside or the outside edges and under the belt and around here with that Prussian blue. So we're going to do the arms and the legs next. So on the right side of each arm, we're going to put a nice wide float of Prussian blue. And we're going to do that to both arms and both legs. Just like that. So that float's going to come about 1/3 of the distance across the arm or leg. So your float's going to cover about 1/3 of that space. Float right over top of all of those stripes. And then we're going to dry that. Get my brush. And then we're going to put a narrower stripe down the left side. What size is the tag? This is a 12" by 4 or 4.5. 12 by 4.5. So that float, a little narrower than the first one. Goes down the other side. You're welcome. Well, my membership group, they're awesome, by the way. They were introduced this month to something called Mira, the Mira Calligraphia, which is the master's book of calligraphy. It's an absolutely spectacular book. And so I made sure that they had a PDF printout of it so they could truly admire how beautiful it is to see that type of illumination. So we're going to float underneath the jacket at the top of the legs. Put a nice little shadow in there as well. And under that epaulette at the top and on the sleeve. See, starting to look pretty dimensional. Spell that. Spell what? Mira Calligraphia? I'll put the link up. You can find it at the Getty. Go and look up the Getty Museum and type in Mira Calligraphia. You'll find it. It's MIRCALLIGRAPHIA. Mira Calligraphia Monumenta. If you really want some great information about it, it's a book by George Boxay. Boxay. I can never pronounce that name. But there is a tremendous article about it at the Getty Museum collection. Yep, the Mira Calligraphia Monumenta. And it is well worth having a look at. It is spectacular. And some of the most beautiful illuminations I've ever seen. Okay, so we've got our shading in place on our lovely little fellow. Now, I'm going to use a little bit of, oh bloody blazes, where's my blender? Don't you hate it when you know you have a blender somewhere, you can't find it? Okay, found it. So I'm going to use a little bit of warm white. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of that Stormy. And I'm going to mix the two together. So essentially we're making a almost a powder blue. And you want this brush almost dry. So a little bit of Stormy, a little bit of warm white. You're going to make this light powdery blue color. And this is where we're going to dry brush some of this down the arm, close to the left side. Just a light dry brush of that color. We're going to do the same thing to the jacket. And that open space in the front of the jacket. It's a light dry brush. Don't overthink it. It needs to be just soft right there. And the same thing here. Just a little. All it does really is just soften this. So vertical line, just close to that left side. There we are. Look at that. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the pant legs and the sleeves. So it's just a light dry brush, not dead center. You want to come to the left a little bit, closer to that left side on the legs. There we go. And you can see that it goes right through all of those stripes. Now, I've got 3/8 angled shader. We're going to pick up a little bit of warm white. And this is going to be a very weak float. But you're going to put a soft float down the edge of that dry brush. Like so. And it's going to come all the way down. And it is a weak float. And I'm going to dry this well because we're going to use a liner to put in a final highlight. And the one thing I don't like is, perfectly straight, bright line, because I found that a slightly broken line is actually more effective. If I can find a liner, there we go. So I'm going to put a slightly bright line. Just like that. I like the more broken line. It just seems to work better. But there is your highlight on each of those arms and the legs. Whoa! Why don't you know what? I would probably look like an Oompa Loompa dressed in this too, so. Oh my goodness, Denise, you're in Rotterdam. Good for you. How do I not get a sandy look when dry brushing? One of the pitfalls of working on MDF is that it tends to get a little bit, I call it grainy or pebbly. So that when you dry brush on MDF, a lot of the time you get this almost like little dots. So it looks kind of grainy and sandy when you do a highlight, when you're dry brushing. One way to eliminate that is to, when you're doing your base coats, like in this case, I add a little bit of all-purpose sealer to my base color. And then when I put that first coat on, I let it dry and then I sand it really well. Doesn't matter if you sand right through it. You're going to put another coat on anyway. I sand it really well and then I put a second coat on. And it makes a world of difference. So I have a nice smooth MDF as opposed to if you're working with just straight paint, sometimes this gets really pebbly. And so a great way to avoid that is to use a little bit of all-purpose sealer mixed in with your acrylic base coat. So that's, to me, that is just like the simplest way to get this, this nice dry look to this, and then to get that polished look on the arms. So we're going to move now to doing the trim. So we need that rigger again. And we're going to use a little bit of baby duck. I think I love Sunny Day. Nice, bright, sunny color. This one just makes my knees wobble. I love baby duck. It's a great color. So we're going to use that baby duck. I'm going to thin it out a little bit because I want it to behave itself. What did I miss? Oh my goodness. So, we're going to do the shoulder pads, what I call the epaulettes, with that baby duck. And now I like to leave a little space between the segments of this. I just find it makes things a little easier in the end. Here we go. I know somebody asked me what was for dinner tonight. I made lasagna the other day, and we have still got quite a bit left, so I think I'm going to use that up tonight. We're going to have a little bit of garlic bread and lasagna. Love this baby duck. So all of the trim on our little fellow gets this treatment with this baby duck. Again, I love this yellow to create a gold look. I just think that this is such a pretty yellow. And I'm going to, oh my stars, there we go. Didn't quite have enough moisture in the brush, so it wasn't sliding along the way it should. There we go. Now again, I try to leave a little space between these as much as I can. That's a bit more than I need, but I'll clean that up a little. There we go. And then the trim on his jacket and the buckle on his belt all get this color. I like putting this in right now because it cleans up the jacket quite a bit, makes the jacket look a bit more pristine. And there's that. An epaulette. We call it an epaulette because my husband was in the military, and that is what we referred to as the patches and badges that sit on the shoulder and at the collar, or like out here on the shoulders and on the sleeves, were referred to as the epaulette. And in his combats, I hated them because every time we washed his combats, they all came out all scrunched up and we'd have to iron them. Didn't have to iron the uniform, but you had to iron the epaulette because it would just turn into a ball in the laundry. Here we go. I love how quickly this little guy comes together. So there we have the uniform. And before I get too comfortable, we're going to put a series of buttons on this uniform. I went with 3 on this little guy. So I just used that same yellow and placed 3 buttons like so. on either side, about 1/8 of an inch away from this. So he needed 3 buttons. There we go. So while that's drying, we're going to tackle his boots and his hat. Now, when I did the line drawing for this one, something I didn't do with the first two, I included the line drawing for the star, so that if you don't have access to stars, or maybe you don't want to just glue on stars, you have the line drawing for which you can paint them, like we did here on the hat. And then all you would have to do is just transfer 3 stars onto the garland that he has in his hands. So it's in the pattern. I didn't do it with the first 2, and I probably should have, but it was sort of an afterthought that I put it in there. So our next color is some lamp black. And yet again, I managed to get paint all over myself. I'm trying to keep my paint organized. 9 times out of 10, I have, millions of bottles of paint scattered around this studio, trying to keep them all under control. So we're going to base coat the hat with lamp black. And I'm going to have to fix that stripe because I just painted over it. My husband is finishing the last touches on my little outdoor kitchen. It's essentially a shelter for the barbecue and the smoker. He finished the roof on it yesterday, and now he's finishing the stairs. Oh, crud. I just put my hand right in the yellow dots. So I have to fix that. I tell you, some days I'm an absolute hazard. There we go. Okay. Hey, Sandy Barton. These guys are just fun, Margie. As I said, my daughter and I began collecting Nutcrackers when she was just little. I think she was maybe 2 or 3. At the time. She was fascinated with them. And we've continued to add to our collection over the years. We try to add at least one every holiday season. You know what? No, I wish I could say I did that on purpose. I really didn't. I have a knack for forgetting where my hand is and then managing to plop my fingers into it right off the bat. I'm gifted that way. It is not the first time I've done it, and it definitely won't be the last. Now the boots on this little fellow, same with the hat, are very simple. I'm a firm believer that if it doesn't need overthinking, don't overthink it. And the hat in this particular case is just a furry hat. So keep it simple. We're going to use that dry brush technique for this boots as well. I just think it gives him a sort of soft and polished look that is fun. Then again, I don't do anything. Has she made a beaded Nutcracker? She did, yes. Okay, I've done that on numerous occasions. not realize that I've made a mess of it until after it's all dry. But the nice thing is once it's dry, you can simply, cover it up a little bit. Find the mouth on these, they're a little frightening. Patrick, I'm going to have to find a Canadian nutcracker for you. We do have them. I have one. I think my favorite, though, I have several traditional German nutcrackers that I've had for years. And one of my favorites is my chimney sweep. Chimney sweep is considered good luck. And if you shake his hand. And so the nutcrackers, by proxy, have a similar superstition that goes with them, that it's good luck to have one in your home. And so I've had one for years. We have, I have the prince, I have the king, I have the postal worker. I have several different ones that are very traditional. But I think the nutcracker, the chimney sweep is my favorite. He stays out all year. We keep him in the china cabinet, so he protects the house all year long. But it's just been something we've always had. But now we have, I haven't counted them, but I think we're probably at around the 150, I would say. So I know we have at least 50 of the tree ornaments, just little tiny ones. How do we? Ours are wrapped in bubble wrap, or I use a lot of my Christmas linens and whatnot. So they're wrapped and rolled in that. And then we store them inside the big plastic bins. We take them out the week that we start decorating and check them over, and if they need repairs, they get repaired. And because we've had some like for 36 years or more, so. I have a cook too. Yep. I have a little cook. He's cute. So, I got his belt done. I'm going to dry that. And then I'm going to paint his buckle the same color as the trim. I have one that I painted. I have one, a large resin one that I did a number of years ago for Artist Club. And I did a number of their Santa Claus ones, their annual. They always did an annual carving. And they were always made in resin. And for a number of years, I think 6 years, I painted them. So. Oh my God. I don't know. They're just, I think there's an old world charm to them that is appealing. Okay, so we've got all of our black done. Notice there's a ball at the top of the head, at the top of this hat. We're going to base that with the same color as the uniform. Just for unity's sake. I dislike bringing more colors into things if it's not necessary. And I like moving colors around. So our little knob at the top of the hat is going to be the same color as the uniform. There we go. So we're going to start dry brushing the boots with a little bit of warm white. And I like this because it's a light dry brush, the full length of the boot. to the left side. Just keep it in line with the, and then there's a little highlight at the toe of the boot as well, like that. If you find that it's getting a little, this one's getting a little heavy-handed, but I'm just going to soften it a little. There we go. And then we're going to do the same thing across the top of the boot, right here. Just a little dry brush on that cuff. Little dry brush on the belt. And a little in the center of it there. Now in the center of the hat, we're going to follow that curve that's on the hat. So there's our first one. I'm going to show you something really neat. So it looks kind of blocky this way. So that next layer is going to be a little firmer and a little narrower right here. And then this final highlight is going to be a little brighter right in the middle of that second one. So wide, little narrower, and then a brighter one in the middle. So you can see that it creates that curve. But if you find that it's a little too, here's my angle shader. If you find that that is going a little too far and it doesn't quite have the subtlety, take a little bit of your base color and float the edge like that. It'll just bring that darker edge back to it. And then when you dry it, it'll narrow it again. And then you've got control of it once again. So then you can come back and just soften the edge a little like that. We don't want to create, so that it goes edge to edge. We want a soft highlight, but then a little bit brighter in the center. So if it ever gets out of control, all you have to do is darken the edges a little bit. So now we've got this nice little spot there. Nice little highlight. So we're going to take a little bit of Prussian blue and we're going to shade the little ball here. Like that. And then it's going to get that small little highlight, and it's just a weak float of warm white. Like so. Let's dry it. Look at that. He's really coming together quick. And then the final highlight on that little ball up top there is just a dot of white inside the edge. So once you're ready to put the stars on, you're going to put one star right in the middle of that. So it gets a nice little halo around it. That's why we want that bright highlight in there. So warm white is our next color. We're going to paint the shirt and the cuffs. So he has cuffs on his sleeves right here. These are warm white. Just like that. I love this little guy. I just think he's so cute. Where Sherry's having trouble. Don't feel too bad, Sherry. Mine kept correcting to Satan instead of Santa, so I was getting more than a little frustrated with autocorrect. So I'm going to use a little bit of warm white to paint the shirt. Oh, too much water in my brush. There we go. So we had our sound issues sorted. Everything seems to be going well at this point. Well, you know what? Every one of these Nutcrackers has something that appeals to me, but I've got to be honest. I think this one's my favorite. I love them all, but I think this one is my favorite. I think it's just the color combination that works for me. I just want to make sure I get this white shirt. There we go. And I'm going to fix this because I have made a ungodly mess of this shirt. There we are. There. Yeah. Hi, Donna. How are you and Rich keeping busy? You must be. Here we are. Uh-oh. I hear a puppy dog. Hi, Mace. Are you gassed?
Mm-hmm.
Hi. Hi, BB.
Hey, he's got no face.
He's got no face. He's about to have a face, though. He will have a face shortly. Everything seems to be moving along okay. Will I of course. I have one more Nutcracker to do. The gingerbread one is cute, I have to say. I do like that one.
Cat pad Nutcracker.
A cad pad Nutcracker? Who said that?
Me.
You said that, okay. Hi, Mary. Didn't see her in there. There you go. Okay, so we have cuffs and we have shirt. It's the case of the faceless Nutcracker. This little guy is just fun to do. There we are. And make sure all this white is dry. Now we're going to shade the shirt. The shirt is very straightforward. He's just a little bit of asphaltum to shade with. So we're going to shade up underneath the beard, like so. Doesn't have to be neat and tidy. It's just enough to give it a little depth. We're going to shade behind that buckle with just a little asphaltum. And we're going to do the same here underneath the jacket. Comme ça. It just turns that plain white to just a slight beigey tone, I guess. Just enough to give that shirt a little texture and a little depth underneath the beard. And then we're going to do the same thing to the cuffs. And I'm going to put the shadow on this side, on the cuff, like that. Et voila. Super simple. I need to fix something. So I just realized I missed a spot. Here. No, my my cuff. So yeah, if you've got cuffs, you have to have cuff links. So I'm going to put a black button there and a black button there. And that gives us our cuff links. Hi, Belinda. You're new to painting. Well, welcome. Hi, Maggie. Thanks for joining us. Actually, Vicky, blue and yellow is trending again. And one of the things that you're going to see we're going to be doing in next week's class. So we're doing a piece next week called Vintage Lemonade. And yet it doesn't have anything to do with lemonade other than lemons. At least that's sort of my working title. I don't know what you'd call it. So, got our shirt done. We need to start making all of this gold trim look like gold. So I'm going to break out. Where is my, there it is. Okay. Looking for my angle shader. So we have all of this yellow and our little stars. They're all based with the same color. We're using the we're using baby duck, and then the shading color that we're using for it is called Orange Flame. You can use tea berry, you could use bright orange, but my favorite orange tone is this one. I absolutely love Orange Flame. So each of the stars gets a float of orange flame like this. It's not perfect, but I wanted it to sort of put, you know, a nice little shadow on one side of our stars. So don't be shy with that orange flame. On that baby duck, it's very pretty. That yellow is just gorgeous. So I'm going to use a little baby duck for my base color, and then we're going to float down one side with orange flame. See how pretty that is? That orange flame is just gorgeous on baby duck. And it gives you a nice glow. Look at that. See, sure makes those stars sparkle. And we're going to use that same color for all, I'm going to shove those out of the way, all of the yellow on this uniform. So little float, and then walk it out about 1/3. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Walk it out about 1/3. You want to have it 1/3 is orange, 1/3 is baby duck in the middle, and 1/3 is orange. And you're going to do that to all of the baby duck. So a little float on either side. Look at that. Try to leave a little bit in the middle that's just baby duck. This is just such a great color. There we go. By leaving that open area in the yellow, it implies that it's A, that it's curved, but B, that it has a bright highlight in the center. We're going to do the same thing to all of the trim on the coat. So underneath the beard, underneath and behind the buckle, just like that. Walk it down. Don't be afraid to walk it down or up. I didn't quite walk it far enough on this one. But that's okay. Just means that you're going to move it up a little bit. So if you have to do that with a chisel blend, you do it. And then again, on this one, we're going to put the shadow over here and walk it out. I just love this color. It turns this yellow gold. And if you find it's not quite dark enough, deep enough, put another coat on. Make it brighter. It's okay. I love this orange, and especially on this baby duck because it just jumps out. Gives you a nice bright, in-your-face glow. Look at that. Love it. So it's starting to look like gold. Now the fun part. We're going to take that extra long detail liner. Where did mine go? There it is. And we're going to highlight in the middle. Now, if you've lost the yellow, you can do a little yellow first. So I've got a little bit of warm white and on my liner, and I'm going to just, in the dead center of that yellow, I'm going to put a few light strokes of warm white. That's your highlight. And again, they're very light, very thin, right in the middle where that yellow is, just to pop it. Don't forget to put a little white on the top of that shoulder as well. Hi, Kim Ish. Okay, on that coat, look at this. Just a little stroke of warm white, just light, fine lines in that curve right here, light, fine lines. And I forgot the belt buckle. So we have the belt buckle. I'm going to put a float of that orange at the top of the buckle, like so. And then we're going to use a little bit of warm white at the bottom, right here. It always fascinates me how much that looks like gold. Simple, simple. I got a little spot here that I need to fix. There we are. I bobbled the black and onto the... So. Now comes the fun part. I'm going to use... We need to put some tassels on his shoulders. If you're not a fan of these, my brush control is awesome. Oh, thank you. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of baby duck. I like doing this separately. And I'm going to put a series of little short strokes leaving a little gap. Going to be about 1/4 of an inch, I guess, down. And they don't have to stop smoothly. They can be furry at the edges. And they could also be a little longer than that. There we go. A little longer. Didn't quite get it right the first time. There we go. So it's just a series of lines dropping from that epaulette. And I'm just coming past that first stripe a little. It's going to leave a little space above and below, and that's okay. There we go. So I like it if you keep it loose. I find a lot of the time having things sharp and crisp, especially as we age, our hands don't work as well as they used to. So I've got just a fun little ruffle on that. It's very hard to shade that. So this is what I did. I took my liner and a little bit of that orange flame, and I went in between where those little strokes are with the orange flame. Instead of trying to float it, I just filled in the gap with a stroke of orange flame. And that gave me the effect that I was looking for, which just follows along with everything we've already done. And I just made them about roughly the same length as the bright yellow ones. And it worked. So if it overlaps the yellow, that's okay. But it's just to try and fill things out. And then take a little of that warm white and just add a fine stroke of it randomly across. And it gives you that sparkle. And it's simple, but it works. There we go. And look at that. Uniform complete. So we're going to dry this. And we're going to work on the face and the hair. So the face for this little fellow is done with cotton candy. I love this color. So good old cotton candy, which is that sort of this pink here. I love this tone. This is great for simple faces. It's a great flesh tone for simple faces. So a little bit of flesh tone. We're going to base coat the face. And we're also going to do those hands, same color. So I'm going to start with the face. I'm just going to paint all of it in. He has a mouth. There we go. So the face gets base coated with cotton candy. Now, if you're really comfortable doing the face freehand, that's great. But if you're not, you can always just retrace the face details on. And I want to show you an easy way to do that. I absolutely detest having to retrace things on. So 9 times out of 10, I will leave my line drawing taped to my surface so that I can flip it back over and drop it back into place. However, sometimes that's just not all that practical, especially on a surface like this one where I had to actually tape it directly to the surface. That's not always the most practical thing. So I want to show you a little trick that does make things a whole lot easier in the end. So there's my face, and I'm going to come down here and base coat the hands. I've got way too big a brush for this. You get into a bigger brush and sometimes it's just too much. There we go. That's one. There we are. So we got hands and face base coated. Now ordinarily, this is what we do. We take our line drawing, we tape it to the surface. I want to show you a trick. Whenever you're doing something like this, you know that this is the last portion that you're going to do, and you have to trace and transfer things back on. Let me show you something. I take a photocopy of my line drawing, and then I cut it out right to the space that I'm actually going to use. And then I leave a little bit. So in this case, I'll leave a little bit of the hat band. Like so. So that when this is completely dry, I'm going to make sure it's dry before I do this. Then I can position this like so, directly over the face. Then I don't have to try and line up an entire line drawing. I only have to line up this small piece. And this makes life so much simpler when you're, especially for little details like this, like we have in this face. So I'm going to put one more coat of this cotton candy on his face because it's just not quite fully opaque. I just want everything to look nice and smooth. There we go. And this little system works really well. So the only thing I'm really worried about with this is literally just to keep everything where it's supposed to be. So make sure that's good and dry. Now I'm going to use a little piece of painter's tape. Just a little piece, don't need much. And because I left a piece of the hat band in place, it gives me the ability to line it up nice and straight. So there we go. And then I'm going to cover the hat band with the tape and tape it into place. Now, I'm perfectly comfortable drawing that on myself, but not everybody is. So I want to just quickly put the details of this face in. So that we can create something fun with this little guy. He has a fabulous moustache. There we are. He's got eyes and eyebrows. I'm not worried about his teeth. There we go. And so everything is right where it should be. And I can peel this off. It's a handy little technique if you have your line drawing photocopied, and then you can use bits and pieces for it for a lot of little details so that you're not driving yourself insane trying to get them the way you want them. So we're going to shade the face and the hands with a little bit of asphaltum. which means I'm going to put a nice little shadow underneath the brim of the hat and down both sides of the face, like so. The one on the left side is going to be a little narrower than the one on the right. And this just helps keep him proportionate. Like so. Oh my goodness. There we go. So I'm going to dry him. And it's funny, I never use tracing paper. I always make a photocopy of my line drawing and do my tracing directly from a piece of copy paper. Tracing paper drives me bananas. So we're going to do the same thing that we did to the face. We're going to do that to the hands. So I'm going to put a nice little shadow on the left side of the hand, like so. And under that cuff, right there. Yep. Now, his nose needs a little shadow on the right side. So we're going to put a shadow down the right side of his nose, right there, and underneath, just like that. Et voila. And then a little bit of warm white to float the other side of the nose. Just a nice little bright highlight right there. Makes his nose stand out a little. Now I'm going to dry him, and I'm going to grab a little bit of country red. I love country red. And this is the only place that I use it in this, which I don't often do. It has always driven me crazy. But I needed something peachy and red for his cheeks. And there's no other red in this piece. So I had to choose one. So a little bit of country red. And we're going to dry brush his cheeks. Right where the swirl is on his mustache. We're going to work in a circle and put a nice rosy cheek. I want to have that curl in the mustache right over the cheek. So here we are. I want a nice rosy cheek on both sides. Just like that. So he's got a nice rosy cheek. Now, a little titanium white. And we're going to give him some eyebrows. I use my little rigger. You can use a liner brush if you're more comfortable with it, but I used my rigger to put in a nice little comma stroke for his eyebrows. And then I'm going to give him a nice big bushy moustache. Curl it around. Now, I'm going to use a liner to finish the curl in his mustache. for the body of this, I'm going to use my rigger. I want a very big and bold mustache for this fellow. So I'm going to bring it to a point, but I'm going to leave enough space so that I can give his mustache a really nice curly cue. So I've got my liner brush. I love this big curl in the mustache. I just think it works. It gives him character. And it makes him more interesting. Nice big curl in that big mustache. And I also bring the mustache down so that it overlaps with the mouth. So if you have to make it a little bit bigger, which I did, that's okay. Look at that. So he's coming to life. So I have my rigger. I'm going to use my rigger now to put in his hair. So I'm just going to bring the white right to the edge of his face. And then I'm going to swish it out, kind of Farrah Fawcett-ish a little bit. Just like that. I like him when he's got a little bit of, you know, that crazy Mozart hair going. But I take care when I'm up against his face to keep it nice and crisp, because that does matter here. Okay. And then as you're bringing it away from his face, think Mozart. There we go. I love the idea that he's got, you know, crazy hair. Mozart had crazy hair. It was all over the place, though. There we go. So he's got hair. We're going to do the same thing for the beard. The beard is going to come from around the mouth. And again, I'm just going to give him some wispies. I like the idea that this beard is imperfect, kind of textured, but fills in that, you know, some of that empty space there. Make sure that it overlaps the shirt and that it overlaps the coat a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. So 1 or 2 coats is sufficient. Now for his teeth, you can base coat the whole thing white if you want to. But this is what I like doing. I'm going to make his teeth like this. I'm just going to give him stripes, like so, so that they kind of fill up the space a little, instead of filling the space completely. This way it gives him some texture. But we can come back in with a little bit of that cotton candy and give him an upper lip. So I can come in here with a little cotton candy. I thought his mouth was a little big, and the mustache wasn't. There we go. So he's kind of creepy, really. Creepy works in this case. So Beard, mustache. Shading color for the beard, the hair, and the mustache is Bahama Blue. I have a tendency to lean towards Bahama Blue for shading any white. I'm not sure why, but it's for me, a white has to have that cool-ish undertone. And most whites tend to go to either a gray or a blue, so I prefer the blue. The gray is kind of So a float of Bahama Blue up against the face. Here. Don't be afraid to overdo this, quite honestly, because we're going to layer some more white in. So it isn't the end of the world if you get too much Bahama Blue in it. There we go. Okay. A little bit of Bahama Blue on my beard and my mustache. And up under the mouth, like so. Love it. I love Bahama Blue on white. What can you use? You can use ice blue. I think that's what it's called, or crystal blue. That's what it is. Crystal blue will work just fine. That's this one. You need something that's a lighter blue with a little touch of green in it. It'll work just fine. Awesome. Hi, Beverly. So we're going to dry this, and then we're going to deepen the shading on the hair with a little float of thinned, heavily thinned asphaltum. And I'm going to shade under the mouth, right over top of that blue, with heavily thinned asphaltum. It is going to change the white quite drastically, but that's okay. And then wherever you put that Bahama Blue, you're going to put a little float of thinned asphaltum. And so it does drastically change the white, but then we're going to use a little titanium white, which is that snow white. And I'm going to break out my extra long detail liner. And I'm going to use that titanium white over top of everything. So watch the beard. I'm going to use this titanium white over top, and then I'm going to let the wisps go past the edge. Titanium white. Let some of those wispy edges go past the beard, out onto the coat. Those little wispy bits help keep everything looking fluffy. And we're going to do the same thing to the hairline. I like the little wispy bits. It makes the hair look more realistic. And this is where you really get the Mozart look, you know, like he hasn't run a comb through it in months. Nice wispy lines. I like the wispy bits. And you can do the same thing to the mustache. Just a little sparingly. We're just making the mustache look a little wispy. He has waxed it, so we can't have a whole lot of it. There we go. And then while you have the white out, don't forget, little dot of white at the top of each cheek. Now, I'm going to fix something here because I boo-booed. There we go. I had a little goof. Okay. So I'm going to dry this really well, and then I'm going to show you a trick. I know I've showed you this before, for some of you anyway, but this does make things a whole lot simpler. For those of you that have really struggled keeping eyeballs the same size, berries the same size, you can use stencil to create that. So I'm going to use this one. So I want the eyeballs to be the same size. So I'm going to grab a small stencil brush and a little bit of lamp black. And I position the stencil over top of the eyeball on the surface. And then I just stencil with a little bit of the base color, lamp black. One eyeball. I'm going to dry that, and then I'm going to do it again on the other side. And this way, both of the eyeballs are going to be the same size, and they'll be in line with the original line drawing. Just makes everything a little bit simpler. And there's nothing wrong with making things a little less complicated for yourself. Ever. So, put it into position. There we go. Two eyeballs, and they're exactly the same size. Then all you need is your liner, and you can do this with a gel pen too. Take your liner brush and draw the line that extends past the eye. You can do it with a liner brush, or you can do it with a pen. Whatever you're more comfortable with. If you don't feel that you've got sufficient control over the liner brush, you can do it with an Identa pen or one of the gel pens. It'll work just fine. He's coming. He's almost got a face. So I'm going to make sure that that is good and dry. We're going to switch to a small angled shader and a little bit of warm white. I like it thinned. I don't want to use it full strength. We're going to put little, oh goodness, that's way too much. There we go. Going to put a weak float of warm white on the left side of each eyeball, just like that. Doesn't have to be much. And then we're going to add just a dot of warm white for the final highlight. And that dot is going to go right on that highlight on the upper left. Look at that cute little face. So cute. So while I have that angled shader out, I'm going to finish off the hands. Just needs a little highlight of warm white to soften on the left. There we go. And then dry him. So I'm going to take my gel pen and add a few little details to this guy. Just a few. I don't need a ton, But one we do need to do is this. I need to go across his teeth and around the outside edge of his mouth, just to detail that. I like a little scribbly line along the side of the head. You can add a few little fine dark lines in the hair if you wish. I like to see a few of them in there. It just gives a little extra texture. And I like the same around the beard, just to define the beard a little bit. Nice fine line for the center of the shirt. Look at that. And any place that, you know, some of these lines may have gotten lost, you can redefine them a little bit with that gel pen. It's an easy way to define those things. So we're ready to start putting our stars in place. Now our little stars here, they need a highlight. So I'm going to grab a little bit of white and just a little float on the opposite edge right there. A little bit of white. I just think this is so fun to do, just to give them a little brightness. There we go. I like that little float of white. Easy peasy. So we need a garland. I'm gonna let these dry over here a little bit. And I'm going to take my extra long detail liner and a little bit of that baby duck. And we're going to create a garland. I love the colors in this one, Deb. And this one is super easy because it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm using my extra long detail liner. To put in our garland. And this is just a series of little overlapping swirly lines. So they are not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So if they're super light, if they're not perfect, if they skip, it's all good. Don't worry about it. Just intertwine them a little bit so that they're a little thicker and a little more interesting. There we go. So we've got a nice little garland going. So I'm going to set him aside to dry, and we're going to come back to our little stars. Now, I like sparkles. We need to have a little bit of glitter in this little guy. So we're going to use a little bit of this. I love this stuff. This is Galaxy Varnish. This is actually a varnish, but it has some beautiful glitter in it. And I like a little bit of glitter. So we're going to use just a light coat of this varnish. Neatness doesn't count. Perfection, overrated. Highly overrated. Little dab will do ya. Anybody remember that commercial? Little dab will do ya. So we're going to put a little bit of Galaxy Varnish on here just to give these stars a little sparkle. I think by putting too much glitter on them, you would lose the color, but I think they need a little sparkle. So we've got 4 little stars. We'll set those aside to dry. Just like that. And then we're going to finish the background. And this part is so much fun. I love this part. We're going to use these this is one of my favorites. I love this star stencil. So we're going to use this. We're only going to put a few stars in the background just to carry the overall design. So I'm going to use first a little bit of baby duck. And we'll put those stars on. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of that orange flame on the same stencil brush. And then we're just going to tap a little orange on one side of the stars. Just like the way we painted them, so that this is what we get. So highlighted and shaded at the same time. Pearl cream. Oh, believe me, Renee knew there was glitter involved in this one. He vacated the premises. So again, baby duck for the base. And then a little bit of orange flame on one side, just like that. It's just an easy way to embellish with very little effort, to be honest. Look at that. Easy peasy. Trying to decide what size I want. There we are. And we are almost done with this one. Almost finished. Such a fun one to do. So you can pick and choose however many stars you want to put in. That's entirely up to you. I like to keep it fairly simple. You don't want to have 6 tons of stars on here. It gets a mite busy. So we've got stars, all the stars. So I just noticed something that I did forget, and I've forgotten it a number of times while I've been painting these this week. Putting a little orange flame on these buttons. Shade the buttons on one side with a little orange flame. Like so. And then we're going to connect those buttons with a little bit of white and just a stroke that comes across like so to connect them. There we go. And then a little dot on each button to make them shiny.
Nice. Copy in the breath.
Renee would never enter my paint room because I lose glitter on almost everything. So we've got these wonderful little stars. I'm going to try and dry these a little quicker. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. More than likely. It might be on a different surface. But probably somebody asked me for a green one. So more than likely.
Turning 2 on Tuesday, you know that?
Yep. Maze is turning 2 on Tuesday. Miss Maze.
2 years old.
I can't believe it's been 2 years already. Seemed like last week she was, 15-pound land shark. Biting everything. Okay, so I've got my favorite craft glue, thanks to Kathy McAllister, is this one. So I'm going to, these are not quite dry, so I'm going to have to be careful with this. Little bit of glue on the back. And we're going to glue 3 of these to our little garland here.
Dogs are making me feel old.
I can't believe she's 2 already. It's just, There we are. Look how cute that is. Now, the fun part is you could actually just paint these stars on if you wanted to.
Dot would have been 9.
I know. And then we're going to put that last star right in the middle of the hat. Like so. Oops. I turned it the wrong way. There we go. There we go. Is it just an impression, or is Mace starting to be a little calmer than before?
100%.
Yeah, she's much calmer.
100%.
So I've got them painted on. We have just 2 little things left to do. We're going to take my favorite fugly brush. And I'm going to take a little bit of warm white and said fugly brush. And we're going to lightly spatter this. Like so. To me, this really changes how this looks, putting this little layer of spatter on. I love it. That little bit of thinned warm white. Here we go. And I'm going to dry this really quickly. And then the only thing we have left to do is to put a little gold on the border. Oh, we forgot the highlight on the boot. I just noticed.
You missing a highlight on the boot?
I did. I put the dry brush on, but I forgot to put the highlight on the boot. You need that little highlight on the boot. Makes the boots look slick. There we go. That's better. Almost forgot that. Sitting here drying it and realized there was nothing on the boot. There we go. Good grief. I like the dimension too, Debbie. I just think it adds a little something something to everything. So I'm going to grab my favorite gold paint pen. And we're going to put a simple gold border on the edges of this. For me, this is just a great way to finish things. I like how it finishes off variety, but it gives you a simple gold border. Oh, God.
Hell yeah.
There we are. Just a simple gold border along the edges. It finishes the edges nicely. So if you're doing any of this type of thing for craft sales and things, this gives a nice finished look. Covers up things. It's so much easier to do it this way than it is to do it with a paintbrush. So nice little gold border around the outside edge. Don't forget to paint your back. So I'm going to dry that. Now you can add more spatter to it. You could add more stars to it if you really wanted to. I like this kit. Comes with a little kickstand at the back, so they'll all lean up nicely. But as I said, this set, these Nutcrackers would look great painted on almost any surface because it's such a versatile shape. There's nothing that confines it to a specific surface, so you can do all kinds of fun things with this one. I hope you guys enjoyed doing this. I sure did. I love these little guys. Super fun, super easy.
It's nice to get through that puppy stage.
We'll let you know when it ends. She's still quite a lot a puppy.
You can switch cameras.
I can switch cameras now? Yay.
Prize time.
It's prize time. Where's prize time? There it is.
I don't know where your prizes are.
I haven't packaged them yet. Well, actually, yes, I did, but they're put away right now. So we have 3 great giveaways this week. They have literally a pattern, an entire kit for a variety of projects. So there's 3 of those to give away. There's also brushes and other goodies in those packages as well. So it's quite a substantial giveaway this week. So I'm quite pleased about that.
Okay, Red. Pick me, please.
So Renee's got the wheel all loaded, and if he is ready to spin it, here we go. Need a purple one. Somebody needs a purple nutcracker. That'd be kind of cool.
First name.
First winner is Carol Henderson.
Yay. One.
And the next one. Remember, guys, if your name pops up on the wheel, head over to the website at tracymoreau.net and click on the little speech bubble in the lower right-hand corner of the screen and send us your shipping information. Anything that is not claimed within the 2 weeks goes back into the bin. Teresa Grant Van Wy. Congratulations. Oh, somebody wants a Mardi Gras nutcracker.
That's a weird combo. Nutcracker and Mardi Gras.
It can't be any weirder than the cucaracha one I have. And the last one goes to Eileen Van Etten. Awesome. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's live class. The video is available on YouTube right after this, so if you want to follow up, if you're painting this and need to refer to it, just go over to my YouTube channel. You can find the video there under Lives. And in the meantime, everybody have a safe and hopefully cooler weekend. And we will see you next Saturday. We are painting something fun with lemons. So we'll see you then.
Oops.
Mm-hmm. What, oops?
Oops.
Oops, what did you oops?
I misclicked.
You misclicked.
I misclicked.
Okay.
We went back to Top Gun for a second.
Oh, I see. Everybody have a great weekend. We love you. Stay safe.
Bet your puppy.
Pet your dog.
She's not a dog yet.
No?
Tuesday she'll be a dog.
Tuesday she'll dog. So right now she's just a puppy.
Right now she's a puppy. So pet your
Okay.
puppy.
She's a big puppy.
She's moping right now.
Take care, guys.
Yeah. Gotta mute.